Hi y'all, I'm Allison. When reviewing the YA fantasy books, I realized I had a lot more to say about one of them than I did the others, so I decided to split that book off into its own video. So let's take a look at that book, shall we? So we have This Poison Heart by Kalynn Bayron, and this was the July 2021 Owlcrate box. It has this gold rose on the front, roses, and this spine. And then the dust jacket is reversible with this gorgeous illustration. Isn't that just stunning? So this is a mix of supernatural fantasy, mythology, and mystery, all wrapped up in one. Three of my favorites, so completely here for it. We have Briseis, which is a mythology-based name. She is an orphan. She's always known that she was adopted by her two moms. They live in Brooklyn, and the moms own a flower shop, but the rent keeps going up, so they've got some money trouble. And Briseis has the ability to grow plants at the touch of her hand. So this is something that she has struggled with. She doesn't understand her gift, and she's kind of afraid of it, and she's also trying to keep it hidden from everybody. So as a result, she's kind of isolated because she doesn't want anybody to know, what she's capable of. So the family's fallen on a rough patch, and they're all kind of struggling. So when Briseis one day discovers that she has inherited a dilapidated mansion in, I believe, upstate New York from her mother's sister, they think that this may potentially solve some of their problems. So it'll allow Briseis to go up there and hopefully discover more about her gift and potentially help the family financially as well. So they all hop in the car and go on up there. So, by the way, none of that is spoiler. That's pretty much the premise of the book. So, of course, once they get there, all sorts of things. There's a little mystery going on. There's, Briseis trying to figure out about her family and the town people. There's something a little weird there. I really enjoyed the magical aspect of the book. So there's a lot of botany in this one and mythological references. Her moms are awesome. I just love her moms. They bring some comedic humor to it, but also, some real emotion as well. And they're great. Family dynamic was well written. The world building, the environment, and the characters. I could literally picture everything that was going on, including the estate that Briseis inherited. So, which is, important. You need to be able to envision where everything is happening, especially when the environment is such a strong point of the plot. And I particularly loved all of the mythology references and the slow reveal on her family secrets and, what's going on with the townspeople. Now, this book did have some negatives for me. I believe I only gave this one 3 3/4 stars. And that was, there were times where it felt like the author's political views were being interjected into the story. And that took me out of the narrative because it seemed very unwarranted. And it may have just been me personally, but there was like 3 instances where I was just like, really? Did you have to put that in there? For one, it was just, they almost seemed like little snide comments that they didn't add to the story at all. So I think there was no place for him, which is why it took me out of it. Curious to see if one of my issues with the political leanings is actually part of the plot in book 2, because there's, if you twist it, you might go, okay. And specifically what I'm talking about is they work police defunding into the story at the very beginning. I didn't feel like it needed to be in there. Now, I am coming from, my cousin is a police officer up in the Chicago suburbs up that way. And my uncle is retired from the police force up in Mishawaka, Indiana. So, you know, it's a topic that's close to me. So I didn't necessarily enjoy that being thrown in. Now, there may be reasoning for it because it may have an impact on the mystery part of the book, the investigations that are happening. So I'm willing to continue on and see if that's actually a plot point. But it really just felt more like the author taking the chance to say, hey, this is my stance on this. Which everybody has their own opinions. That's, you know, that's not the thing that we're really here to discuss. It's just, I didn't necessarily think it belonged in this book. This book isn't about that. It's about magic and family and finding your place in the world and, you know, coming to terms with who you are, not political hot topics of our current day. The other thing, there was a couple of other, you know, little jabs, you know, the Karens and Davids of the world. And it's just, like I said, it pulled me out of it because it didn't seem to fit with our characters. It seemed like it was more the author's views sneaking into the story. Now, if others have read this, and I'm sure quite a few have, and you didn't see that, then definitely, you know, let me know. I may have just become a little too prickly after the police defunding aspect that may have just kind of put my hackles up a tiny bit. Again, it did not ruin my enjoyment of the book. It's not going to prevent me from getting the next one that comes out. I'm really excited to continue with this story. But I did dock it, so I felt like that was important to bring up. And I was also curious to know if anybody else got that from it, or was I just in a kind of mood that day and just latched onto those little things and let my irritability affect my reading experience, because that can happen. You know, we bring our own experiences and our own beliefs into our reading, and our enjoyment of it is reflected on that. The other thing I had a major issue with, those were minor, like, annoyances. The love angle in this one. So there's like an insta love, and it felt forced. I don't, especially from the other character's point of view, it just didn't seem, I could see where Briseis might be drawn into this character and become fascinated and infatuated. But in the reverse, I didn't really see where that would have come. It didn't seem like a believable two-sided insta-love situation. I would expect that attraction to be one-sided based on the descriptions they have for the love interest and what we do know of that character. So it just didn't quite seem as believable to me. I don't necessarily hate the insta-love trope. So I'm one who's like, okay, yeah, I'm suspending belief. I will go for this. But this one, I just couldn't suspend that belief. But it might be intentionally there to keep the reader off balance on who you can trust and who you can't, because there is a mystery going on. So, again, I'm looking forward to finding out more in the second book. The other thing was it kind of dragged for me a little bit in the middle. Now, it might be the other points that I brought up that caused it to drag a little, but, and it really sounds like I'm bashing this book. I did enjoy it. I don't want to give that impression that this is a bad book or anything. It's definitely, I think it's a good read. I am excited to see where things will go from here. I really loved the characters, and I think that's why I started leaning so critically on this one, because I love the mythology and the botany and the mystery of her family and her coming to terms with who she is and being comfortable with it, and her family dynamic, and the moms are just great. The small town vibe of it. There was so much I loved on it. So while it may sound like I'm really nitpicking, and it's probably because It's like, no, don't ruin all this goodness with these little things that, yeah. So anyway, I docked it for the pacing in the middle, the insta love that I didn't quite believe. You know, it just felt forced, and I didn't see the relevance of the deep funded police. So again, that may be addressed in the next segment of this one. I don't know if this is going to be a trilogy or a duology, but we will find out soon. Part 2, which is This Wicked Fate, will be coming out on June 21st. So this is the perfect time to pick it up if you haven't read it. Oh, and definitely, if you've read this, let me know what you think, since my views were kind of so all over the place. And there's that. If you would like to see the other books that I reviewed for this video, then I will put the video right here. Until next time, y'all have a good one. Bye now.